Hey, everybody, Mark Herman, a.k.a. LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and I'm here, as always, with my partner in crime, Sam Schneider of Primetime Sports Talk, and this is another episode of Juggle Talk. Woo! Hooday! And we are obviously following a big win in Pittsburgh, so we get the horn today. Oh, I love breaking that horn out.
I was just thinking you looked really horny, Mark.
There you go. So, I love breaking that horn out. So what a game. I mean, it started out kind of where it was resembling the start of the Minnesota game because we kept having great field position, but we had nothing to show for it. And I thought, oh, boy, here we go. Second trip, midfield. We're playing this field position game. So that really bothered me. But we'll go through everything like we usually do, the good and the bad, and we'll start with the bad. I just have a few things that were early on when we were scoreless through like the first quarter. Phillips, what are you doing? He can't. His first punt return, he goes back 10 yards. We would have had it. We were playing this field position game, and he goes back to the 30. I was like, well, we were at the 45. We were one. So he consistently ran the ball out last week when he shouldn't have. We didn't talk about it on our show, but you and I both had it in our notes about this. And then today that went on. We had Burrow making a couple questionable decisions early on, trying to force the ball into Boyd with triple coverage. And then I talk about, situational football. We had them at a third and 15 and gave up the first down. So, but that was pretty much all I had because second quarter, the game kind of turned around for us. So that was everything I had. Oh, and that's not counting. Obviously, I could just put it in here in like ink. Eli Apple.
Right. Well, you knew
we could go on about Eli Apple all the.
You knew I was going to take it there anyway.
Yeah, I didn't even write it down. It's become just this regular thing. I didn't even write it down. So
every time I mention him, somebody is in the comments telling me I'm wrong, and I'm like, if you didn't watch the game today, go back and watch it and tell me I'm still wrong because he was a mess today.
He is, like I said, he does not try to make a football play.
Right.
And if you took the time out that he goes to commit these penalties and just had him play the ball, there was one play today where I think he actually tried to play the ball and broke it up. But most of the time, he's just lost. And there was a person on Twitter who got into it with me saying, oh, he was a top 10 pick. I'm sure he'll be fine. I was like, no, there's a reason why we're his third team.
Right.
He never got offered a contract from the first two. The team that spent the top 10 pick Giants only gave him a couple years. When they got the chance, they dumped in New Orleans, who saw him and said, we're not offering him a contract. And that's why he was available. There's a reason why, and you're seeing it. So
yeah, well, and it just goes to show that it's not just us that's seeing it, it's other teams, because when late in the second half, pretty much all of the fourth quarter in particular, and it happened a bit before that too, but definitely all of the fourth quarter, Roethlisberger was almost only throwing to that side of the field. He was throwing Eli Apple like play after play after play. And he either made a penalty, got beat bad. At least he did a better job of wrapping up today, although he still missed several tackles.
Right.
But it was one of those things, or he was playing so far off the receiver, so he didn't get beat. But there were a couple times when he would just chip a guy, and then you got Bates coming over to actually make the tackle,
right?
Wilson coming over to actually make the tackle,
right?
So I mean, hopefully we get Waynes back, and hopefully when Waynes does come back, he's actually good. I have no idea because he hasn't suited up yet.
We have never seen him in stripes.
We've never seen him in stripes
other than practices and stuff. It's
right.
Oh,
so that was a big one for me. Another thing, I don't want to say I didn't like it, but the other thing that had me a little uneasy is at one point on Burrow's first scramble when he evaded a sack, Trent Greed made a comment on the broadcast about well, I guess that knee looks pretty good. And I was like, really? Because that didn't look like a Joe Burrow scramble. Like, it looked like he's really afraid of getting that thing hit, which is fine. But it just makes me a little uneasy that he's not, I know he probably feels like he's 100%, but it doesn't look like he's willing to really plant and run off that. I mean, the best I saw him run today was after Chase made the touchdown catch, and that's
Right.
because he knew nobody was going to hit him at that point.
Oh. And let's get in it because there's so much good to talk about.
Yeah.
That we harp on Apple all the time, and we all know he's the weak link. And
and frankly, I don't really have any other bad stuff or stuff that rubbed me the wrong way.
There were some situational ones. We gave up a 15 play, 8.5 minute drive for the Steelers score that was loaded with not playing situational football. Like I said, we had we had some long third down conversions we gave up. We just seemed to just extend the drive ourselves for them. And you just cannot have your defense out on the field. It was literally, I wrote it down, it was 15 plays, 8.5 minutes. You just can't have that. So
during that drive, I think at one point when we were at about 6 minutes into it, I mean, I know you need to save your timeouts, and I'm glad we did, but sometimes it's almost like you're watching a basketball game where you're like, take a timeout. These guys are gassed,
right?
Like these guys need a second.
But think about where we were, because we were trying to get the ball back. They saved their timeouts, and that's gonna pay dividends later. So let's go.
Don't get me wrong. I didn't actually think that they should, because the timeouts are way too valuable. You don't have enough of them,
right?
But man, I was just like, God, this is one of those times you're just dying for. I
need a break.
Tell somebody to take a fall and limp off the field for one play. Make Eli Apple do it,
right?
Limp off the field so that everybody can put their hands on their hips and catch their breath for a second.
Well, and it's a good analogy with basketball, because you'll see a coach just call a timeout just to stop everything. I mean, he's just watching mistake after mistake after mistake, and you got to go, okay, timeout, we got to regroup. So but that was let's jump into, because now we'll go into the good. And the Bengals have on their first drive, what a gritty play by Boyd. I mean, getting hit and pinballing all the way in. That was just, I put down here, just gritty run by Boyd. I didn't know how else to describe it. Great first score.
And that's his first score as a Bengal in Pittsburgh, where he grew up and where he played college ball.
Right.
So that had to feel pretty good for him.
Yeah, no, that was great. And then let's go. So we give up the long drive. It's 7-7. And I said, okay, now we need to answer. Right. And sure enough, trying to get into field goal range. And this is where, having the 2 timeouts, we can work the middle of the field, and we end up hitting Chase again for another one right before half. And I was saying,
you know what? If I can, I'll segue that into one of my goods, which is, overall, I thought the play calling today was improved.
Yes.
I thought Zach Taylor had one of his better games as a head coach. It's still not quite where we need it to be. But the reason I bring that up in this situation is because if Marvin Lewis is your head coach, right there, we kneel the ball down.
Yeah.
And we would have done it, earlier in the season too, on a couple of drives that were, ending a half or something like that. And Zach's like, no, we're going to take a shot. We got 30 seconds. Come on.
Right.
And thank God we did. And when you've got Jamar Chase on the field with Joe Burrow, that something good can happen at any given moment. So
think about, I agree with you 100%. And also think about after we score, we go 14-0. And I think there's like a minute something left. We end up holding Pittsburgh and getting the ball back with like 30 seconds. We still have a timeout where we can work the middle of the field. And he tried to do that. If Boyd, I think it was Boyd, if Boyd makes that catch at midfield, we actually have a chance to run out Evan Almighty for a last second field goal, where the previous administration would never have. They would have said, oh, it's 30 seconds, let's not risk anything. Here we had one timeout, we had 30 seconds, and they're trying to get the field goal after we had already taken the go-ahead score. So definitely kudos for the better play calling today. The defense, I mean, what can you say? We not, the stat I saw was we hit Ben 7 times, we sacked him 4 times. We roughed him up. That defensive line held on, or our offensive line held us on every single play. They could have thrown a holding flag on literally every single play today. So it was It was our defense was stout. Logan Wilson, Pratt. I mean, those guys have really stepped up. And I was the guys I was watching the game with. I went down to a sports bar and I was watching the game, and we just talking about we not only have a great defensive line, we've got a lot of depth. Sample made plays today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was beautiful. Reader
And
got in there. I mean, we rotating the guys in exactly what we thought we were going to have last year with Atkins, Reader, and Daniels. We have it now. Everybody's healthy, and it's just beautiful. It helps out the whole defense. So
yeah, well, and we got sacks from from our H's. We got sacks from Hubbard, Hendrickson, and Hill. And all of them were, not like we just barely got there. It was, we got there and you knew he was going down, as soon as they were in the backfield. I think we had, so we had 3 sacks, and I think we had, and 4 sacks. That's right. And 7 quarterback hits.
That's right. As I said, 7 hits, and that doesn't even count the hurries. That's where we actually got to Roethlisberger and made contact. So, the defense, I can't say enough. Outside of Eli Apple, our defense is playing stout. The place I was at didn't have the sound on, so I didn't get to enjoy the Trent Green stupid comments like as usual. But I did see the pregame before I left, and Cower said he and Boomer were doing their pregame thing, and Boomer was saying if there was ever a time to go into Pittsburgh and win 2 in a row, this is against the Steelers. This is the week to do it. And then Cower said, you know what? He said, let's stop talking about the offense. He goes, this defense. I mean, they came into this week ranked 6th overall. Yeah, as a defense. He goes, Cower said this is the best Bengals defense I've seen in years.
Yeah, so, I think also it's worth noting that in an emotional series like this, and I know a bunch of these guys haven't been with the Bengals that long, so the history behind Pittsburgh doesn't mean as much to them, and it's not so desperate feeling. But not only was our defense extremely relentless, which actually is the word Zach Taylor used in his presser. They were extremely relentless, but they also didn't let the moment get away from them. They avoided being being overly, they avoided losing their heads. They didn't make any stupid extra hits or extra pushes and shoves out of bounds, things that would cost you 15 yards. Right. They played extremely disciplined, in addition to making plays. And that was really great to see.
Yeah, well, the whole time when we were sitting there and it's 24-7 and then it's 24-10, and I'm sitting there and I'm saying, we have to learn how to close these games out. What I wanted to see, and we didn't, was I wanted to see us, we got to a 3rd and 2 and then didn't convert. And I wanted to see us get back to the days where, you had Clock Kill and Corey Dillon, where we just kept the ball and you end the game. We even were able to do that in the Dalton era with Cedric Benson and, or with the Palmer era. We were able to control and end the game on offense. That's what I would like to see. But once again, our defense, when we punted the ball back to Pittsburgh, I mean, you had 3 straight drops. You had, when the Steelers did get close, what was that? They were 4th and 10. They could get a first down at the 1, and they dropped it off to Najee Harris, with 10 yards to run. It's like, how did you ever think you were going to convert that 4th down?
With 4 Bengals, well, we disguised that coverage really, really well. Right. We made it look like we were going to drop back into more of a prevent. Right. But everybody kind of picked up their men. And that was the other thing, is we were swarming to the ball today.
Yes.
And on that play in particular, by the time the ball was in Harris's hands, he had 4 Bengals around. 4 Bengals. There was no way that he could do anything to get
so they made it look like, because there was an earlier play in the first half where we gave up a big gain to Najee Harris, and as soon as they threw it to him, I said, oh, that's a first down, because you could see just all the green around him and there was no Bengals. So they disguised the play enough to where he thought he was getting that same look, and then they shifted back. And all I know is I watched that play, and there was a Steeler fan in a Le'Veon Bell jersey who just kind of hung his head. He was like, you throw a play call like that, and you're like, how did you think on because that was basically the game. Because then we got the ball back with a couple minutes left, and we were up 2 scores.
To be honest, I could tell you exactly, why they thought that would work, because it normally would always work against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Right.
That is one of those plays that we are guilty of. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if they threw a screen pass,
Right.
because it's, just another one of those plays that historically has always worked against us. But big kudos to Lou Anarumo, who thus far this season really has the guys playing well. And I'm the first one to say I was wrong about him, because
Right.
I thought even if we started the season well, at some point it was more likely to be him that got his walking papers before Zach Taylor. And boy, he's just
No.
he's got a really great scheme going. He's got guys that are buying into it. He's got guys that are playing disciplined and not losing their heads. And that's really, really impressive.
Yeah, it's funny because we only had 4 penalties last week, but they were costly penalties. Eli Apple PI, the Von Bell taunting. I mean, the 4 penalties we had this week, we had 10 penalties, and there wasn't that as costly of a penalty. So it's almost like I like the 10 penalties we had this week more than the 4 we had last week, just because it's almost like situational penalties, just about when they came in. Holding, we were talking about this before we went on. There were 3 plays where we got called for holds, but those would have been sacks on Burrow. So those are good holds, right?
Yeah, and I know that everybody saw that stat. This is the first game in 76 games that Pittsburgh failed to record a sack in a row. Right. 75 games straight they had one. Right. Well, I mean, if Hopkins hadn't held twice, and even on the false start by Carmen real early in the game, I think all 3 of those probably would have been sacks. But that's one of those things where, I mean, the penalty actually probably did you a favor there. Well,
there are times. There are times where you get a holding penalty on defense and you'll say, oh, that's a good hold, because that would have been a touchdown if you didn't hold it. Exactly. Give up the 5 yards in the first down and live to play another down instead of giving up the score. So there are sometimes situational football. It goes into it even when you're committing penalties, committing the right penalties at the right time, not the taunting penalty when you have them inside the 5 walking off the field on 4th down. You know, does stuff like that kills you. So
and I will mention, since I just said his name, I spent a good amount of the first half watching Jackson Carman in his first NFL start today. And the false start was a bummer, and it was early, but he's got some jitters. He's a young kid. You can't really be shocked by that. Right. But I think actually probably people are more shocked that he only a starting offensive lineman in his first game only had 1 false start. So that's pretty good. But I watched him after that, and what I took away from it is he looks raw. He does look like a rookie, but I really liked what I saw. Man, he's got really quick feet for a big guy, especially one that's supposedly reported overweight. And there were a number of times where he blocked his man from the guard position, and then immediately pivoted to the right to give help on the edge for a guy coming around the edge. And that's not something that's drawn up in the playbook. It's not block your dude and then turn around and block this dude. Right. That's instinctual football. You know to do that. So that was very, very encouraging. And at this point, barring any sort of injury to him or whatever, there's no reason that he shouldn't continue to start at that position.
Agreed.
I mean, he's got to come along. We're Suafilo is at his ceiling. He's not getting any better than what he is right now. He's just adequate. Jackson Carman has a way higher ceiling, so there's nowhere to go but up, really, for him.
Yeah, no, it was great. And it's funny that you brought that up, because I was going to lastly say the offensive line played pretty well today.
Yes,
they really did all things. And Jackson Carman had one of the key blocks on one of Mixon's big runs. So he had his moments today, and the line was serviceable. Like I said,
and the tackles played well again, Jonah and Reef. And for anybody that missed the update, I know you saw Reef on the sidelines. I assume he came back in because I didn't hear any mention of it, but he was fine. I think he just turned his ankle. So, but it was at the end of a series anyway. So he walked off, and he was listed immediately as probable to return. So,
yeah, well, I saw it was at the 6-minute mark, and I said, God, if our defense can just do their job, we don't have to bring them out on the field. With the short week coming up, you want, because I know Aluzier also was hurt today. But
and that makes me a little nervous, because it is a groin injury, which could be he'll be fine tomorrow, or it could be he'll be fine in a month.
So,
I don't mean to sound pessimistic or anything,
right.
but considering
That's one of those, that's a muscle pull. That's, one of those things where they say, oh, it's 2 weeks and it's 6 weeks.
Right.
It's just one of those kind of things.
And it's important for him to be out there because whether Waynes is back or not, let's suppose he's not, then who you've got out there is Eli Apple and Darius Phillips, both of whom can be a liability.
Right.
Taking that actually straight from John Sheeran.
Right.
Is a great point. And that's not what you want. So Awuzie has played so well this season that you want to hopefully it's a short thing. I don't know that we can expect to see him on a quick turnaround on Thursday night, but
he gets the mini bye. We get the mini bye after this week.
He gets the 10 games. So
yeah. So it's one of those. So overall, like I said, today was exactly what we needed. It's a shame we didn't win last week because we'd be 3-0, but I'll take the 2-1. Short week. We got Jacksonville at home this week. Very winnable game, obviously. And we got 2 road games out of the way. We went 1-1 on the road. We're back in the jungle this week on a short week against a team we should beat. And I want to point out the Logan Wilson play on the second pick was he completely baited Roethlisberger.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely baited him. He had seen it on film before. It was clear, just stepped in and grabbed it. You're going to be able to do that to Trevor Lawrence on Thursday. If you watched any of the Jacksonville games, they had a flea flicker. He threw a pick 6 on a flea flicker that he should have never thrown off balance, off the back leg. So I'm sitting there going, well, our defense should be able to should be able to take advantage of Trevor Lawrence on Thursday. We'll get into that. We're going to do a full preview on Tuesday of the Thursday game, and we will get into that. Love to go into our mini bye at 3-1. So this is a big week for us. We get our Thursday night game out of the way, and then we get, just when we need it, we can get healthy for I think we have Green Bay after that. I'm not sure what the schedule is, but I think
I can't remember either. Yeah. But that's going to be huge. So, but today it's a great day to be a Bengals fan.
Absolutely.
Great day. Always a great day to win in West Virginia adjacent.
Yes. Well, we had this was since 2015 that we've won back-to-back games against the Steelers.
2012 to 13.
Okay, was the back-to-back games against the Steelers, and then I can't remember the last time we won both games in the season. The season sweep, I think 09.
It could be, might have been 09. If it wasn't, then before that it would have been 99.
Yeah, no, I think there was something in the late Palmer or Dalton era where we swept the season series. So, but it's been over 10 years.
Yeah, I would say 09 is when I think we swept the division that year. So that would make sense.
Yeah, I think it was 09. So, but we're in a position to where obviously we've got the game left in Cincinnati. We could put 3 in a row. This is the kind of stuff. These are the wins that say, Zach, that you start going, okay, Zach, because you have to beat your division rivals. Going into Pittsburgh, winning last year against with Ryan Finley was a complete pull a rabbit out of your, what. But today was just a really pretty win, and it's like I said, this team needed to start out fast. We have, and let's keep it going Thursday. So Sam and I,
two of Zach Taylor's best games as a head coach, arguably the 2 best games as a coach, were both against Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So, well, let's keep the train rolling. We will be back Tuesday night, or at some point Tuesday, we will upload a video preview for the Thursday night game, and then we'll be back for recap. One little caveat: if Sam goes to the game Thursday, it might not go up till Friday morning because it takes time to get home from a football game. But if he doesn't go to the game, we'll put it up right afterwards. But either way, you will get a recap from us, and hopefully, I am blowing that horn again this Thursday or Friday, whenever that comes up. But we want to blow that horn. I want that quacker in the horn to break. I've blown it so many times this season.
That's right.
But all right,
and blow the horn for us too, guys. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button.
Smash the subscribe. And Sam, tell them where you can find they can find all your stuff on Primetime Sports Talk.
Sure. I write for Primetime Sports Talk. Like Mark said, you can find us at primetimesportstalk.com. You can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You and at Talk Primetime.
Awesome. Well, we will be back Tuesday night with the preview. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. You can watch Football Night in America with pride tonight because you'll see happy highlights and there'll be good things they're going to be talking about our defense. Our defense cannot do anything but move up from the 6th spot. So we might be a top 5 defense leaving this week. So real pleased. Great day to be a Bengal. I'm going to say, hoo day, everybody.
Hoo day.
And we will see you on Tuesday. Take care.